All right. Welcome, everybody. Gonna just stop the sharing. Hello, good evening, namaste. Did I just lose Dr.? I think I might have lost Dr. Vidam. Well, we're here today for the Genius of Hindu Astronomy Open House, and we're just gonna wait until we have our hosts here. 1 second.
Good evening, Shilpa. This is Raj Vedam here. So let's
Hi.
wait for a couple of more minutes because our other two panelists are not here yet.
Okay,
I
great.
don't think they got the link for the meeting, but I just sent it to them. So
Oh,
they'll
you
join in
did?
a couple of minutes. Give them a couple of
Okay,
minutes and then we'll get started.
no worries. I heard you had a wonderful webinar yesterday.
I hope it was. Thank you.
No worries. So we'll just get started, everyone, in just a couple minutes. And please let us know where you're joining in from. Welcome, everyone. There is Evg. Welcome. Welcome. Doc. Oh, it looks like everybody's here. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to the Genius of Hindu Astrology. And I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists this evening. But first, I want to welcome all of you who have joined us on a Monday evening for this wonderful panel and retreat that's coming up. So I'll start with Dr. Raj Vedam. Dr. Raj Vedam is faculty at HUA in History and Methods. He holds a PhD in electrical engineering and brings interdisciplinary expertise to teaching Indian astronomy, science, and history through rigorous research and evidence-based scholarship. He gave a fabulous webinar yesterday on reconstructing Hindu history from the stars to scriptures. Dr. Aditya Togi is an assistant professor at Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. He is passionate about teaching physics and astronomy. He is involved in numerous research projects using NASA's Advanced Telescope facilities, including the James Webb Space Telescope, to study star formation and galaxy evolution. And Vidushi Eve Mendoza relocated to India at a young age as a sadhak, spending several years in service to her teacher in Maharashtra. Her time in India significantly enhanced her commitment to the study of Vedic Shastra and directed her spiritual development. She is a dedicated practitioner of mantra, sadhana, yoga tantras, and yoga shastra, regarding Jyotish Shastra as a natural extension of these disciplines. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here. So, Dr. Vedam, I'm going to give it to you to decide how we'd like to start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So, welcome everybody once again, and to my co-panelists, Eve G as well as Aditya Togi. So, it's wonderful to once again do this webinar over here. I'm sure we're going to have tons of fun at the retreat itself. There's so many amazing things you have planned for the retreat. So, the whole point of today's webinar is to give an introduction into the kind of things we plan to do. So I think the format we'll have is I'll take about 10 minutes and Eve will take about 10 minutes, so will Aditya. And then we will open it up for question and answers. So with that, I think I will go first, followed by Eve, followed by Aditya. So let me quickly share my screen. I must have a screen somewhere here. So give me just a minute. Oh, I have not put into presentation mode.
I'm
Okay.
spotlighting you, Dr. Vedam.
Okay, let me quickly share my screen one. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So we are here to discuss about this retreat, which we have titled Genius of Hindu Astronomy, Ganita, Falita Jyotisha. This is not easy for us to Excuse me, I have a bad cold. It's not easy to decide on the title, but I think after discussing for some time, we said this captures the essence of what we're doing. Some mathematics and some amount of observation and some amount of tying in the genius of our Jyotishas into trying to see how we can correlate life itself with the cosmos. So this is going to be from 11th to 14th December, place called Pine Lake Retreat in Florida. And Shilpaji has already talked about me. I'm not going to talk anymore. So where is this going to be? It's going to be in a place called Groveland. Pine Lake Retreat is in Groveland. Here is Orlando. If you take the Florida Turnpike, I think it's about 1 hour or so westwards, and you find Groveland over there. So it starts on Thursday, December 11th. We plan to start in the evening hours, let's say around 7 p.m. with the bout of initial observations and so on. So you can plan to come anytime from, the morning of 11th. We plan to end on Sunday, December 14th, the morning hours. So you can plan to leave in the afternoon hours and so on. And this is the address of the place where this will take place. So what are the goals of the retreat? Several things, several nice, amazing things that we have. And one of the things is to discuss ancient calendars. There's so many calendars our ancestors followed. So we'll have an introduction to the kind of calendar systems that they followed, the coordinate systems, and all the amazing things that go to make calendars in ancient India, how they kept track of the passage of time by pegging it to celestial body behaviors. One more goal will be to understand how our ancients tracked the planets. How did they know where a planet would be at a given time and so on? Intricate mathematics. I don't want to scare you by using the word intricate. We're going to simplify this significantly so that we will just show the genius of our ancestors. How did they do this? What kind of mathematics did they use? What was their insights into the behavior of planets? So these are the kind of things we'll do in this part of it. We will talk about stories. We love stories. So we'll talk about stories and fascinating facts about Indian astronomy. We will present these things. We will talk on the basics of astrophotography. We're not going to ask you to invest in equipment of $10,000 and so on. That's not going to happen. It's even with much less cost, you can do astrophotography. And I will introduce you to the basics of astrophotography. We are not lucky like Dr. Aditya Thogi, who works at the James Webb. Now, we can't hope to have one of the space telescopes at our disposal, but then we can aspire for these small things over here. We can take some nice pictures of the skies, and we will try to work through some of the basics of astrophotography. We'll also work through understanding how to use a telescope to make observations of the skies and these kinds of things. We will also learn how to use Planetarium software. We will use Stellarium, for example. We'll learn how to use it, and we will use that to understand the antiquity of Bharatiya astronomy and these kind of things. So in other words, amazing things are on the plans, and this is only a small segment what I've said over here. When Eve and Aditya talk about it, you're going to see a lot more on what we plan to do here in this astronomy. So we'll have astronomy in the Vedic texts, insight into ancient wisdom, celestial calendar of ancient India, how ancient Indians measured, calculated the mean motion of the planets and so on, stories as encoders of astronomy wisdom, use of Planetarium software, antiquity and fascinating facts. Then outdoor, Aditya is going to now walk us through identification of the nakshatras in the night sky. And we're going to have some Ganita Jyotisha over here, mathematics, the calculations. And Eve is going to walk us through some amazing things over here in Hora Jyotisha and Falita Jyotisha. And she's going to talk in much more detail about these things. So the material is from various books, papers, and so on. We have compiled a lot of interesting material, and we will present it over there. A little bit of insight into what you can expect when you come to why Groveland, why Orlando, right? So if you take a look at the light pollution map, this is Orlando. Orlando in this color-coded map is bright. The silver implies bright over here. You're extra bright in the core of Orlando. As you drive out, the color changes. This really means that as you go to the suburban areas, the rural areas, you're going to have darker and darker skies because less of light pollution, which is good news for us. We're going to have wonderful views of the skies. December, winter skies are really amazing to look at, the nakshatras over there. So this is a good site. Here's where Groveland is. It is fairly decent light pollution over there. Excuse me. This is another view of light pollution at the Pine Lake Center. This is the exact location of the retreat. So over here, the important item to note is the bottle scale. There's something that astronomers use called bottle scale to classify how dark the sky is. And there's something called a class 4 sky. And what does that mean? If you take a look at this, this is what Orlando is. In Orlando, at night, you can't see any stars out there because all washed out because of the light pollution. And as you go to suburban areas, you might see one or two dim stars. And as you go further and further out, and we are in Groveland in bottle scale 4, this is the kind of night sky you can expect. You can see bright displays of the stars and so on. And where Eve is in New Mexico, she is so lucky to be in excellent dark skies. I've seen her photographs that she shares on Facebook. I am envious because we have nothing like that here in Houston, which is this kind of sky. So we're going to be in for a treat when we go to Groveland with bottle scale 4 over there. And what can you expect in nighttime temperature? So even if you come from cooler areas like Minnesota and others, I recommend not to underestimate the coolness of the night sky in Orlando. It's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the mean. And extended outdoor time. We're going to be outside from around 8 o'clock at night after dinner till around 11 o'clock at night or so. So extended outdoor can make you a little cold. So I suggest packing warm clothes, multi-layered jackets, beanies, mufflers, gloves, the works to stay outside for extended periods of time. And we also taken a look at the cloud cover. We cannot guarantee that there's going to be cloud-free skies. All astronomers pray that it'll be clear skies. And we think with around 60% chance, it's only going to be partly cloudy, if at all, but mostly it's going to be clear skies. We're hoping for nice and clear skies. And if by chance it is not clear, we have got plan B, which is quite a nice entertaining package. I won't reveal it at this time. And as far as precipitation is concerned, there is little chance. There could be, 17% chance on the average for the past few years. It could rain, but our experience last year was there wasn't much issue over here. So the weather from 10th of December, as you can see, the lows are in the 50s and the highs are very comfortable, 75 and so on. So dress appropriately for that. What kind of gear do we have? We have telescopes. We got Celestron Evolution 6-inch aperture, which is fantastic, amazing hi-fi telescopes with which you can capture galaxies and these kinds of things. We also have a smart telescope with which we'll take automated images of the galaxies. We have several binoculars, Celestron Poro 10 by 50s, with which we'll identify nakshatras and other interesting things, and some accessories, astronomy camera. I'll help you to take some pictures if you get some time. We have smartphone adapters and those kinds of things. And by way of preparation, we expect you'll get a laptop for planetarium studies as well as astrophotography, and learn how to use a cell phone camera app. You should be able to do manual settings for shutter speed because the night sky is very dim, right? So you can't have your automated cell phone settings. We might want 1 second exposure, 2 second exposure. So one will have to learn how to use those settings. A notebook to take notes of, and like I said earlier, warm clothes and so on. So in the last year, when we imaged the skies, these are some of the images we actually took at a retreat. Eve and Aditya, if you remember, with a smart telescope, we got Andromeda Galaxy, we got the Orion Nebula, we took, I think there's Rohini Nakshatra and Kritika Nakshatra. So these are the kind of images we plan to take this year, if not much more. And in my backyard over here in Houston, I have taken pictures of the Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Moon, and other such things. we will try to capture some of these things too with the telescopes that we have, given how much hard time we managed to get over there. So this is a brief understanding of what we'll do at the retreat, and I'll take your questions later. I will turn it over to Eve at this point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vedamji. Thank you. And hello to all of you. I'm just going to start with Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Bhadmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrusham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogibhirgyanaghamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatam. Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay, so I'm going to also share my screen. I'm not quite as skilled at this as Dr. Vedamji. Can everyone see? Something very simple tonight. I'm not interested in talking at you tonight. I'm interested in taking your questions. If you have any about this retreat, we're all very excited about it. I feel we're enthusiastic about actually bringing Jyotish Shastra to a complete or full understanding. So with my teacher's grace, I'll be able to bring back some respect and clarity around the Hora traditions, or you could say Falita Jyotish, which is spread throughout the classical, the Itihasas, the Puranas, it's spread out everywhere. It's in all of the classical texts. There's even a Surya Upanishad, the 30 minor Upanishads. It's all over Yoga Shastra. Even in Yoga Shastra, we're calling Ida and Pingala Surya and Chandra Nadi. When we say Soma Suryagni Lochana for Mahadev or any other Devata, we're actually saying Ida Pingala Shishumna. This three netra of the Devata. And this is heavily actually linked to the classical understanding of how nature affected a human being. It doesn't have to be this, what would you call it, superstitious portion of the Vidya, because if we lose it, we lose some part of the original culture. It's like some people are more comfortable with the solid, what they're thinking is a solid science, because they can calculate it, they can see it, it's tangible. Then there's other minds that are very comfortable with that which is not tangible, and they're more comfortable with the abstract. And so what you find with the study of Jyotish Vidya is two very divided schools of thought often. And the truth is, if you look all throughout, you can't even read the Mahabharata or the Ramayana without mention of the Hora portion of Jyotish. So what were they doing? Was it really just nonsense or superstition? Was it really something you were supposed to live your life by in this rigid way? Just because some Jyotishi says it, you have to go spend $10,000 on a Neelam, So we need to call into question all those things, but I'm not really here for calling into question. I'm here to hopefully bring a pure heart and pure eyes as someone who has treated this video more like a devotion. I have to say, my two colleagues here, their intellect probably blows mine out of the water. I've had one pointed devotion. That's all I can offer. I can't offer degrees, but I can offer time. I'm almost 50, guys, and I've studied this since I was 17. So I'm just giving you an idea, and it's been my breath. And when I say devotion, I mean the whole thing. The mantras, the whole Shastra. I haven't avoided a single part. So I welcome your your questions tonight. I don't want to give away too much of what I'm going to talk about because it's very complimentary to both of my colleagues here. I'm very honored to be on the panel with both of them. I've known Togi for years. He's one of the most truthful people I've ever met. And he's very dedicated to astronomy. And when we came and saw Dr. Vedamji, and we just loved him. We just immediately loved him. His passion, his clarity, and it just felt right. So we're really here just, as Dr. Vedamji actually said, kind of an experiment to see if it's a complete thing in itself, but can we hear it that way? Is the question. Without judgment. The Gita says that humility is the first step in real intelligence. And even Jnana Yoga starts with, I don't know. Doesn't start with I know, it starts with I don't know. So my approach has always been that I don't know, and I want to know through experience. And that was the ancient approach. And that's what I was encouraged to be like from my teacher, is to have that humility. And if I can be obedient to him and do what he asked to do, then I'll be serving my purpose this life. That's all I know. So if you look, guys, just before I hand it over to Togi-ji, most people don't know that Jyotish is so broad. It's got many sub branches. It's the eye of the Vedas. It's literally a Vedanga, which anga means limb. And it's called the eye. Even in a lot of the classics, they call it the eye of Sri Vishnu. The grahas, the planets, are seen as the eyes of Lord Vishnu. Okay, so if you look here, you've got the Samhita. You've got the Hora, which Dr. Vedamji was mentioning, and Jataka. Like if you hear Brihat Jataka, it's one of the classics. Jataka is the kind of Jyotish a lot of people would be doing. And you get all of these, this Ayur Dasha for lifespan, because they actually acknowledge the ancient Rashis, their intelligence it had profound depth perception. It was not this flat linear memorization that we're taught in school systems today. When Bhrigu Rishi asked his father, I believe his name is Varun, I think it's Varun Rishi, is Bhrigu's father. When he asked him, am I only this body? That's a good question. His dad didn't tell him the answer. He actually said, go find out. That's the approach. Go find out. Don't be satisfied with answers through words and definitions that then anyone can control your mind. Because you're just memorizing a list of reality. Does it really work that way? So this part of Jyotish Shastra was considered an integral part of Jyotish. Then you had Ganita, which Togi-ji's gonna be illuminating a lot. And this, like I said, this Jataka portion, or the Falita portion, is the part that I'm going to handle from a Shastra point of view. And I'll be equipped to answer your questions with resources, so you don't have to take my word for it. That's all for this evening, guys. Just take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vedamji and Evji, for that nice introduction. Let me share my slides. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Hilpaji, for introducing. Thank you, Evji. Thank you, Dr. Vedamji. So what am I going to talk about? So let me give a small introduction to that. Dr. Vedamji mentioned about the retreat is from December 11th to 14th. And we have on 11th night, 12th night, 13th night, all 3 nights, we will have night sky program, assuming the sky is clear and no cloudy sky and all. But if we have cloudy, we have different plans, secret to be revealed later. Anyway, Dr. Vedanji did mention the nearest airport is Orlando. 1 hour west of Orlando airport is the Groveland, where our location is. And the food and accommodation we provided. It is included in your registration. Need to come by. If you come by around, come as Dr. Vedamji mentioned, at around 12 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock, afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, anytime based on your flight, that will be perfect. We'll be starting around evening time. So people can go here and there a little bit in time, but because if you come by around 3, 4, 5, little bit relaxation, little bit, then you can then join the sessions, which will be good. So I will suggest around 3, 4, 5 a.m. around that time to reach. Registration is open. You can go ahead and register yourself. Okay, what am I going to bring in these sessions? This will be 2 types. One is a normal session where we have in class the same old normal school board teaching presentation styles. But one thing which is really astronomy makes you to go out, see the sky, and an open sky, Gurukul type of system. We are learning about the skies. Let us learn beneath the sky. So outside teaching, as well as there will be inside teaching too. So that's a very unique opportunity. You will appreciate that beauty. How much of us we go outside and really do it. It's all theoretical, all book stuff, all looking in the laptop, but fine. But now here is an opportunity where you will do that, no doubt. But in the night, you will go out and really see stars from your own eyes, from telescopes. So what am I going to cover? So as Dr. Vedamji mentioned, I'm going to introduce the night sky to you. Planetary information in the Purana systems and how they correlate with our scientific observations. And I will go in detail in all those one by one. We'll talk about astronomy, some of nakshatra concepts and festival connections to that. I like festivals. I like food, of course. We all eat good food. Thanksgiving is coming. I'm waiting for it. Another 2 days, you get good food. So what are these festival connections with nakshatras? So that's what we are going to do. And my other thing will be the understanding the phases of the moon and bringing some of the concepts of very basic concepts of Panchanga. So in this, what we are going to do, introduce a night sky. When you go out, I would like to show you like the planets, the constellation, the nakshatras, the Rashis, main stars of that nakshatra. Tell you some about the stories. And these stories, let me tell you, it all has got some scientific connection, some scientific facts encoded in this story. So maybe tell you some stories, before going to bed, like grandma says a story. So similarly, I will tell you some sky stories before you going to the retiring for that day. So we'll look into those things, identify some constellation asterisms and all. So that will be good. What are we going to see during that time? Now this is a picture taken from Stellarium software. This is in Orlando. You can see this is 11th December 2025 at around 9 p.m. 9:52 seconds, which is around 9:02 p.m. And what do we see here? We see constellations. This is what? Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Twins. Cancer is rising. So these are the constellations we will see in the sky. How to identify them? Can anyone look and tell me what planets are going to be visible? Do you see any planet names in this? If you look here, Saturn. So Saturn will be visible. Jupiter will be visible. Some of the bright stars, I'm not going to go in depth, but we are going to look some of those. So this is the sky. This is the region of the sky from maybe around Capricorn, Aquarius till Cancer. You could see those. And if you if we are late, because we had to get up early in the morning too, so the next day classes and all, but we could maybe even see Leo, not maybe Cancer fully and then a part of Leo, who knows. So these are the constellations, especially from Aquarius to Cancer region. That's the sky will be visible during this time. And Andromeda Galaxy, that's a fantastic image which we could take. Last time we took some of the pictures. So these are some of the main stars, skies, nakshatras, constellations, Rashis. which we will be able to see during that time. The next thing is about planetary information. Let me give you one example here. We know that the planet Venus goes opposite. And we also know in some of the stories which we have in our Puranic stories that Shukra was hanging upside down. Do they mean to say give us some code there? The planet Venus going from west to east and Shukra turning upside down. So something like that. I would like to bring these stories to you and explain some of the scientific facts, what we have in our Puranas. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is connecting astronomy with festivals. We only think, okay, Hindu festivals will be connected to astronomy. Like, for example, we have so many all festivals. Ganesh Chaturthi, Chaturthi is what? Fourth phase of the waxing phase of the moon. Chaturthi is the fourth phase of the moon. Janmashtami is what? Eighth day or eighth phase of the moon. Similarly, all festivals, Vijayadashmi for Dashera, 10th phase of the moon. Is only Hindu festivals connected with that? No, even Muslim festival, all Islamic festivals are connected to lunar phase. We know that. Christian festivals, when is Easter celebrated? Easter is celebrated after the Sunday which comes after the full moon, after the spring equinox. So even they have something. December 25th, Christmas, everyone knows that's a fixed day. But what about Easter? Easter changes. How they decide the Easter day? That's again from astronomy. Buddha Purnima. So see, there is always a connection of astronomy and festivals. So I would like to bring that. And also a little bit going deeper into that. For example, Vijayadashmi. When Vijayadashmi or Dashera is celebrated, what is the phase of the moon or what nakshatra the moon is in? I'm not going to reveal that, but what can we learn? We learn about all those stories. We learn about festivals. Fine, no, we have to learn these themes from the festival. But what are the nakshatra qualities? What does that tells us? So I'm going to bring that concept too. Is this festival also some sort of scientific facts hidden in it? Maybe. So that's what I would like to bring. What can we learn about nakshatras through festival themes? And finally, we'll talk some basics of Panchanga through the moon phases, Nakshatra, Var, Tithi concepts. Very basic, not going into much depth, not going into the entire Panchanga, how you can make no. But what are the moon phases? How it is that connected to Nakshatra, Var, Tithi? The Hindu months are all in fact, the way if you know the order of Hindu months, there is a big secret. You can just from the month name, you can say so many things. It will give you so many clues. For example, today, I don't know how many of you have seen the moon. It's a crescent moon. What phase of that moon is? Can anyone say that? Just looking at the face of the moon. Is it after, we are after the full moon or after the new moon? So some basics has to be known. So those things I am going to bring. So these are the astronomy facts that I would like to bring in this retreat. And probably will be so in a nutshell, what is that? Understanding the concepts through the lens of modern scientific observation. So we'll have those concepts of nakshatras, old Vedic text nakshatras and other things through the scientific observations, through scientific analysis, through scientific observations, what we have, and understanding the deep aspects of our Vedas, our philosophy. And someone has said, Ano Badra Kratvo Yantu Vishwata means let the noble thoughts come to me from all directions, come to us from all directions. We are going to have a good time, discussions. It's a good time, take a break from your home. It's a boring to cook always at home and then wash the utensils and daily routine. Come to the retreat, share your stories. We can talk to each other under the sky and talk about stars. And that's a break, and that will be interesting. I think that's what I am coming from, to break from the routine and just to have a discussion with you all. So I eagerly looking forward meeting you all. So that's what I have for you.
Wonderful. Thank you. This looks like a phenomenal retreat packed with so many things, including stories, connection to our Shastras, everything. I'm very, very excited to hear about all of it. And so I think we'll, Dr. Vedam, there's at least one question. Should we start there, or would you like to add anything before we move on to questions?
Now we'll go with the questions that are there and take more.
Okay, so if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box because it's easier to keep track of. But we'll start with this question from Krishnaji from Newton, Massachusetts. On December 13th, are you planning to capture the Geminid meteor showers as well as the Atlas interstellar comet?
So good question. So meteors are notoriously difficult to capture using either the telescope or your cameras because they happen in a flash of an eye, right? It's not at all easy to do it. It's only serendipity. If you're lucky, you get it. Not so. But the comet, yeah, we can do that. We have a very good chance of imaging the comet that we can see over there. With a smart telescope, we will do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Here's a question from Surendraji. I want to know if kids can join, especially high school age.
So I would say if your child is sufficiently advanced and wouldn't be bored in a class where we talk advanced concepts, so I think then it'd be okay. This is not something that is easily accessible, let's say, to a middle schooler, high schooler. I would recommend a college degree. But if you think your child is capable of picking up these concepts and you can help them along, if you also join, you're welcome to bring your child. As long as they're a senior high school, it should be okay.
Great. Now, Dr. Vedam, Dr. Togi, please.
Can I add one about the Gemini meteor showers? Yes, it is December 13th Gemini, and sometimes one person will be looking at a telescope, but we all will be gazing at the sky, and there is a chance that you may see it. I would like to say my recent experience just 2 weeks back. I take my students to upstairs, in our office, in our building, and it was supposed to be a South Leonids on that day. And some people were observing at the telescope, and we had 2 3 friends chatting and looking at some direction. A bright meteor flash, bright. I've never seen that. That would have been the second brightest I have ever seen in my life. Beautiful purple color. Oh my God, I've never seen that. And I could see it was so bright that I could see its smoke trails. Once or only twice or twice it has been. I still remember once I seen in 21st April 2001, and this was the second brightest. So beautiful. And if you're lucky, the color and the purplish color, oh my God, it's still resonating in my head. So if you're lucky, yes, you may get a chance to see that. So, and comet, yes, definitely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Next question, can you please define nakshatras and rashis? Are they stars, planets, or constellations?
Who wants to go?
Give it to Eve.
Oh, yeah, I think we can all answer this to some degree. The nakshatras are they're fixed stars. They're seen as fixed stars. The Rashis, there's a debate if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, because it's a 30-degree measurement of space, technically. Even though we have this zodiac, and I think Western astrology is given this kind of thing to it, like the lion and all of this. However, it's debatable, right, Togiji? I mean, you hear it all over the Jyotish community, actually. People saying that it's just a heap of degrees, because this word Rashi, its origin, it would be more like a heap of something or a bunch of something. So a lot of people translate this as a heap or a bunch of degrees. So it's a division of space, 30 degrees. And you have to remember in Jyotish, when you're applying the Hora Jyotish or you're applying the Falita Jyotish, it is from local space. And this is all through the Puranas and Itihasas again. So for instance, Shani Dev, his birth is mentioned. Hanumanji, his birth is mentioned. I just sent it to Togiji about the Purva Bhadra Padamoon on Dashami, waning, right? And oftentimes these texts will say there is Swati Nakshatra rising over the eastern horizon, for instance. So they were actually watching the Yogatara of the nakshatra. So Togi, I'm sure, is going to give us the exact precise measurements of where each Yogatara is. Then the nakshatra can be a group of stars. Some of them are maybe one star, some of them may be many stars. But a Rashi, if you look at Virgo, if you've ever looked at this Kanya Rashi in the sky, anyone observe it? Has anyone taken time? Dr. Vedam, I'm so glad you've actually looked. So yeah, it's huge. Kanya, it goes on Tula Rashi. Tula Rashi is very small. So we run into the problem of Garga Rishi, who had an unequal system of calculation. So he could have been actually looking at nature, but by the time it's delivered to us in writing, they've made it equal again. So he gave Rohini Nakshatra, for instance, he gave it 20 degrees. And then he gave, let's say Bharani Nakshatra, he gives it, I think, 6 degrees. But then there's this order that the person has written it down is still making it equal. So that can't be what he was doing because he said it wasn't equal. So human beings have this habit, like we make squares a lot. If you noticed in nature, that's not common. The shape of a square is not common in actual nature. Things are asymmetrical. They are, so he was looking at that. So this is a fascinating question. I'm trying to let you know it's deeper than just a simple, are Rashis the constellation? Because it really depends on who you're asking. That's,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you so much. So I have a question. You, Eve G and Dr. Togi G, you both mentioned storytelling and how much, Itihasa, Puranas, all this stuff is very important, that astrology and astronomy are a very important part of that. It made me think about in the Mahabharata, the 13th year when the Pandavas are in the Virat kingdom, and Arjuna comes out in the chariot, and the Kauravas think they've got him, right? Because he's come out before the end of the 13th year, but Bhishma calculates it and says, no, it's exactly. So it's a huge impact on the story, because now we see that Arjuna comes out exactly at the right timing. What I want to know is, in our own lives, for regular people, you guys are the experts, but for regular people, so I enjoy looking at the moon. I do a little bit of just kind of layperson astrology. What do these planets have these such big effects as we're seeing in the stories? And what are they? And I'm a believer, just so you know. I just want to.
But I have to answer this one because it's Falita question, really.
Yes.
I would also encourage you not to use the word astrology. And Dr. Vedam D has corrected that one so perfectly that I even stopped casually.
Astronomy, then I will say
It's Jyotish is its own thing. It's
right.
its own thing. But I would say that you need to experience that. If someone told you, yes, it's true, they're asking you to be a Christian blind believer. So if I go on a crusade and I say, I'm going to convince you it's true, how am I different than any person that's asking you to give them blind faith? And through history, blind faith has been very dangerous.
I agree with that.
And I agree. I feel that blind faith in Jyotish is very dangerous. I actually had to, and I don't like using an aggressive word here, but truthfully, there was a part of it, and I think Togiji has been through it too. It almost felt like combating the ignorance around blind faith in Jyotish. But most people who say they believe it, and what I feel you're saying is that you have had some experience of it. Meaning most people, they'll, on a Purnima, they may actually, their chemistry feels different. Some people realize, they'll ask me even, I notice every Amavasya, I feel clear. My mind feels clear. And by the time it gets to Purnima, I feel more. I've actually had people that are in touch with themselves enough to know medically their body's even adjusting
Yes.
to the, you see? So it's actually something you should experience and through someone who has knowledge of what they're talking about so they can tell you what you're to look for in order to say, hey, did this happen? And interestingly, medical is a good way to test it. So somehow these guys, they're really, I mean, the kind of intelligence I actually don't know if we can comprehend. I actually, sometimes I look at it and I go, I feel so fortunate even to have this little like raindrop of it. I don't know what kind of flood they were receiving. And so, but medical's interesting because that one's really concrete. And it's not just, oh, I feel like this today, or I saw a crow on the road, so this is Shani Dave or something, especially in an area where there's a bunch of crows. And this is what gives Jyotish that kind of like, people are like, I don't know, is someone making it up? It's like someone, as if you're in an area with a lot of crows, you're going to see crows and it might not be in the Mitha. Like they say Duryodhan when he was born, Bhishma, one translation says, a jackal cried near the temple. Now that might be rare. There might be some language of life we don't understand. But if jackals are always crying near the temple, we had to use discernment there.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. And
Shilpa,
I always think about the fact that we are 70% water, and you think about the effect the moons have on the tides, and certainly there is an impact that we feel. Dr. Togi, you were going to add something.
for me as an astronomer, I feel, just take an example. I will just explain for me, because I come from the astronomy background. For example, the star Antares, the star Antares is called as what? Jyeshtha. Jyeshtha comes from the word what? Jyesht. Jyesht means what? Elder. What has that got to do with astronomy? Now, among the stars, you take all the stars, nakshatra names, the star of Jyeshtha is really very old star, and it is a very big compared to the size of sun. It's 800 times bigger. You see, okay, by fluke, this must be a coincidence. Who knows? We can say like that. So many things. Ashwini, twins. You see two stars there. So, and I can give you details of all the 27 nakshatra. That itself will take more than an hour. But how did the people came to know? The Jyeshtha we know right from, I don't know, right from the Mahabharata times. That star was called Jyeshtha. We have telescope at that time? Maybe. I don't know. That I can't believe that. Like how people fathom that. I don't know.
Thank you.
Swati star, wind. It's the highest proper motion star. And the deity of that is wind. What is the nature of the wind? Flows, highest speed. So like that concepts, which amazes me.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a couple more questions. You had the retreat last year. Is this year different? And also, while we're talking about last year's retreat, I would love to know how you felt it went and what came out of it for the students that were there, the participants.
Our teacher should answer this.
I'll take that question because last year's retreat, I had conducted that, all 3 days of it. And I guess Eve and Aditya can add because they were there as attendees in that particular retreat. So what is different? So what's different is we'd like to get a more holistic picture of the practice of Jyotisha in the Indian context. As you remember, in last year too, I emphasized a lot the historicity of the tradition. What is the historicity of the practice of astronomy? Why did they practice it? How did they practice it? What kind of mathematics? What kind of developments? What kind of allegations from Western astronomers that Indians learned from Babylon? They learned from Greece. We addressed these kind of things in last year's retreat where we focused on the historicity. There is another component to historicity that is indisputable in that people tried to see, can we tie our lives on earth to the cosmos? Can we do that? Can we understand about life on Earth with relation to the cosmos? And that is an area where I don't have expertise. And after meeting with Eve and Aditya, I learned that they have invested deeply in this area. So this year is really an experiment. It's an experiment to see, can we bring the Siddhanta methods, the mathematical methods, which I will discuss in significant detail over here, along with the historical tradition, which I'll also discuss, along with how did our ancestors view the skies? What was the meaning of many of the relationships that were brought about? I think Eve has also already mentioned Brigu. She's mentioned Parashara, I guess, and several others, Garga and others. What did they see? How did they, like she said, they must have got a flood of information where we just get a drop or so. What was that flood? Love to know that. Love to know what was the methods they used, what insights they had, how they could correlate this microcosm with a macrocosm. That's what we'd want to do. So this year it's different in that 50% of this retreat is going to be on what we did last year, and the remaining 50% is going to be on the techniques that Eve is going to teach us. And so we're going to learn about those things. Otherwise, it'll be similar. We'll have a lot of observations, we'll have stories, we'll have mathematics, we'll have tons of fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Eve G or Dr. Togi, would you like to add something from a student perspective from last year's workshop?
It was fantastic. That's what's created this. So I rounded up some students and I said, oh, I've heard Dr. Vedamji a little bit. Actually, Togi told me, and then I was like, oh, we loved Dr. Vedamji, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but you've brought such integrity back to the history of the Shastra. And instead of just seeing it as if like the Indian people are borrowing from the Greeks, I mean, the person most important in my life, his name was Bauji. He would never let me call him Guru, was from, Kalchuri dynasty in Nagpur. He was quite adamant about me doing this, and I never understood it until I met my students, actually. And I was always telling them the things I hear in your videos, like, this is not right. India did not need this. They did not need Babylon. They did not need this stuff. I mean, that's why they were so shocked. We actually, after the first day of hearing you, went and sat under the gazebo at HUA, and they were, Sarah and Nandita, I don't know if they're here, but they went, it's what you've been telling us, but with evidence. And so Dr. Vedamji just brought it so clearly. It was so clear, and they could follow the timeline. Even my own mother, she's a scientist, so she could follow all the things, the other things he was presenting. So she found every part of it exciting. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful. We got to see the stars. We had one cloudy day, but then it would, like, guys do know that we might have some clouds. We have music. We can go hang out and then come back. When the sky is clear, it's really clear. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Togi, you would like to add something?
I really like the fact when Dr. Vedamji was bringing some concepts of published in Nature papers, science articles, science journal, which is the top-notch scientific journals, publishing, and there were some facts about some astronomical events and how they correlated with the text and trying to, if you know the knowledge of nakshatras, you can date those. And that's where I was thinking, look, okay, one thing is scientific facts, another thing is our nakshatra, our astronomy systems, Indian astronomy systems. And once you know that, it's such a when you fuse them, it's a totally different blend. I think what has happened these days is people only follow one path. One path follow, the others are all stupid. This path they follow, others are all stupid. This compartmentalization has happened. Bridging those, it's more fun because you understand both the ends well. And I think that's much more, you're in much more heavenly state because now you understand this part too, that part too. And now it's like when you bridge it, now it makes sense about what is this. To get I feel like when I was young, 5th grade, there was an English poem. where there was one elephant and 7 blind men touching each part's elephant, and
Yes.
then they were fighting. One touched the tusk, one touched the trunk. They said the elephant is like a snake. One touched the leg of the elephant. Elephant is like a tree trunk, and they all started fighting. But when you combine all those ideas, it gives the clear picture of the elephant. The same thing we need to do: combine or get the ideas from different sources, and then put it in a bigger context, and then you may get the hope to get the real picture.
Beautiful, beautiful. So next question, will we discuss Orpheus and what nakshatras are behind it? Dr.
All right. I will take a stab at that, but I think Eve can take over if I mess up over here, or Aditya. So we got to go back to Ptolemy. Ptolemy, the Greeks. So he surprisingly had a 13th zodiac. And the 13th zodiac is what is being referred to over here. And what kind of nakshatras would it span, right? Each of the nakshatras, like Eve has already hinted, the Rashis are 30-degree segments of the skies, whereas, of course, uniformly divided skies, and we're not talking about non-uniform, which we'll discuss in the retreat, by the way. And nakshatras on a uniform scale is 13 and 1/3 degrees, which means that each of the Rashis would span multiple nakshatras on a uniform scale, maybe 2.5 and so on. So if we have a 13th zodiac, what does that mean? What kind of rearrangement must we do to everything? This is the kind of question we must ask when we say, if we consider Abhijit as the 28th nakshatra, what is the swabhoga or the longitude it is going to occupy? There was a period of time when Abhijit was admitted as a nakshatra in the Brahmana literature, and there was a period of time when it was removed also. So the question will come, what was a swabhoga? And to answer that question, none. Surya Siddhanta did not assign any longitude to Abhijit, and other reasons for why it was included. So this question is similar. If there's a 13th zodiac, what are the nakshatras is going to span? I think if you admit it, then we'll have to rearrange the nakshatras. That's my take on this, because you'll have to figure out then which portion of the skies is this particular zodiac going to be fitted into. And to my understanding, it was a snake, if I'm not mistaken. This 13th zodiac is a snake that was encompassing from one end of the skies to the other. So I wouldn't even begin to say what nakshatra it should span. If you wanted to do that, you'll have to figure out where in the zodiac this is going to fit. Rearrange the zodiac saying that 360 divided by 13, not by 12. So you'll get a number that is less than 30 degrees. Then if you synchronize these things with the skies, you'll have to see each of the new zodiacs now is smaller in span. It's a lot of mess. I think we shouldn't go there. We shouldn't go there.
Thank you.
Dr. Vinamji just said something interesting about Abhijit. I just have to comment that actually their depth of perception, their understanding, do you know they used both ways? They used a 27-star system and a 28-star system. There's dasha systems, which are long period planetary time periods. So the Vimshodri dashas, like if you go to a Jyotishi and they say you're in Shani dasha. So Shani is the Dashapati. He's the lord of the Dasha. That's usually most people are using Vimshodri. But if you read the rules and you understand the mechanics of it, some people have Ashtotri Dasha applying. And that means you use Abhijit. Yeah, so it's a 28-star.
That's good. That's excellent. It's a stand-in. It's a stand-in nakshatra to accommodate some particular aspect.
And
Yes.
Mahurta Chintamani uses Abhijit for all the Nakshatra, Vara, Tithi yogas. So they were so fluid, very unlike our education system here, whereas if you call into question anything, if you call into question, you can get laughed out of academia. Just a small thing, if you question, let's say you question Darwinism from an intelligent view, like maybe something's out of place, you get laughed out. These people, the Rishis, I say this again and again, the humility they had, and the intelligence they had. They didn't need to say there was only 27 They didn't need to do that. They didn't have that rigidity that we've been indoctrinated with. They said, well, when the engine runs clockwise, it works like this. But at night, the prana reverses and goes counterclockwise, and then this works. They were very fluid, and they were responding to the environment and natural time. We've kind of enforced a clock for a work day, for a work week. The British did so much of this, by the way. There's no telling how they altered our understanding of Jyotish in the calendar. Yeah.
Not just that, but many, many other things, our education, our history, everything. So thank you. So let's just move on to this next question, which is, our relationship to the cosmos is something humanity has forgotten. Why did this happen? And a follow-up is that this guest, Nimbus G, would like to join and know when these sessions are happening, because it's such a fascinating group to discuss this. So aside from the retreat, I guess the question is, are there going to be other follow-up webinars or events where people can discuss Jyotish?
Can I take the first part of the question?
Yes, absolutely.
So this question relates to historicity, right? So what happened? What happened when we lost connection with our tradition, and where did that happen, and why did that happen? It's a long trajectory. It's a very long trajectory that talks about how the sciences developed in ancient India, how it went from out of India to Babylon, to Greece, and to many other places in a very early period of time. Then in the medieval period, how the Muslims from 711 current era onwards took Indian knowledge systems and was transmitted all the way to Northern Africa up to Spain. And from Spain, how it diffused into the rest of Europe, Western Europe. It's a long story, and my talks deal extensively with these things. And why am I saying these things? If you look at the Western tradition, in the Western tradition, as long as very ancient times, only Greece was of relevance. The rest of Europe was nothing to speak about. So the Greeks had a cosmological view of the universe, right? Was based on cosmology. Just like ancient Indians, was based on cosmology. But then in 146 BCE, Greece was conquered by the Romans, and it became subsumed within the first Roman Republic, then the Roman Empire, and so on. And everything was hunky-dory until about 330 current era, when Constantine, the Roman emperor, he adopted Christianity as a state religion. When Christianity was adopted, the entire Roman Empire became a theocracy. So it transitioned from a cosmological view of life to a theological view of life, where God's will be done. You should not question. Questioning is blasphemy, right? So it went from a rational, logical outlook, which the Greeks had, as long as they had contact with India. It transitioned into a theocracy and into thou shalt not question. So it became a situation where Europe experienced dark ages. Almost immediately after that, we have the Germanic tribes and all this kind, a lot of historical events. But the bottom line is, Europe descended into dark ages, all the way from 330 current era going up to 1500, the year 1500 and so on. In this period of time, there was nothing of science and technology in Europe. At the same time, India was flourishing until the Muslim invasions, and the Muslims took this knowledge, like I said, up to Spain. Toledo, Cordoba, southern Spain was under Muslim control. Northern Spain, Toledo, under Christian control. In Toledo, monasteries were copying the Indian texts, which were in Arabic, into Castilian and into Latin. And that's how they learnt about these things. So Indian knowledge was gradually diffusing into Dark Ages Europe, right? But diffusion was slow because people had to copy things by hand. They had to go to a monastery and copy things by hand. So the diffusion of knowledge was slow until Gutenberg came on the scene. And that changed the picture entirely. So around 1500s and so on, after the great diffusion of Indian knowledge, thanks to all of these mechanisms I said, Europe started ramping up. Europe started ramping up. At the same time, also colonialism had started, thanks to its importing of gunpowder and other such things from China. Colonialism had started. So these movements led to some historical realities, unfortunately. And one of the realities that we know is India was colonized. First, the attacks by the Muslims put an end to the practice of Jyotisha. Even 2 months back, I gave a talk in Hyderabad where I touched upon this particular topic. In India, we had a tradition that every 60 years or so, Vidwans would come from all across the country, they'd meet at a place and they'd discuss the calendars. Calendars have to be revised. They have to be revised every so many years thanks to precision because we follow the Nirayana system. The Nirayana system, you had to do these kinds of things. So this tradition was destroyed by the Muslims, right? The Muslims prevented these kind of sammelans from happening and this tradition died out. That is why many of our calendars, festivals have slipped. I'm sure Aditya will talk about slipping of some of these things too when he talks about that. But let's get back to the story. So the Muslims started the downfall of our disconnection with our tradition through stopping these sammelans and other such things. When the colonial people came, the French, the Dutch, the British, and so on, the absorption of Indian knowledge became more accelerated, right? They were amazed, blown by Surya Siddhanta. They were blown by some of these things. Some of these early translators of these works, Thibaut, for example, who translated some of these works, Colebrook, and several others, they were shocked with the kind of content over here. And Burgess was a guy who translated Surya Siddhanta. And he was a pretty honest guy. So he tried to honestly portray what is there and show that the Indian tradition is far more ancient than the Greek tradition. But the editor of that series was an American guy called Whitney. And Whitney wanted to show Greek indebtedness. So he forced a translation of Surya Siddhanta in such a way that it would appear that Indians had copied it from the Greeks. There are several issues. And Burgess himself came out and talked about these things in the paper. But why am I saying all of these things? The British essentially took all the mathematical aspects of Indian astronomy, Jyotisha, and made it part of their tradition. This was strengthened after the discovery of the telescope in the 1600s in Netherlands. Netherlands, a telescope was discovered. Soon after, Galileo copied that and he made a telescope himself, and he's famous for that now because he saw Jupiter and the satellites. So the West arrogated to themselves all of the mathematical traditions because they saw that as some superior art that the Indians could not have. And so they said this new science is called astronomy, and they left Indians with what the Christian tradition could not digest. The Christian tradition could not digest humans knowing the will, the so-called will of the divinity, what is going to happen, and so on. And Indians were adept, like Eve says, floods of information, right? They were adept at understanding some of these things. But the Christian tradition, God's will be done. You cannot know God's will, right? That's how it is. So this kind of thing was forbidden. So they made all of these things as astrology and discredited, right? Astrology was a discredited entity, and Indians were dumped with astrology. And they said that we meaning the West, we have got astronomy with telescopes, mathematics, and these kinds of things, completely masking the fact that Jyotisha involved in mathematics, which the West took as the basis of today's astronomy. So you ask the question, why did this happen? Our relationship to the cosmos is forgotten. History tells us that. I'll be glad to discuss this more if we come to the retreat and we can have long discussions on this.
Incredible. What an incredible response. Thank you so much. Would anyone like to add to that before I go to the next question?
It was perfect, I will say.
Perfect.
I am excited about hearing Dr. Vedam talk at our retreat. So because that's missing. Dr. Vedamji, what you're bringing is really missing in the Jyotish community. A lot of people don't recognize this. It's really valuable to know the origin. Never lose your origin. Yeah.
I will just add one sentence, what Einstein said. We owe a lot to Indians because of them we know how to count. Because we from zero came from India, you know. So that one statement from Einstein.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So here's another question. During the full moon, a lot of people feel biological flood or turmoil, show kind of very angry behavior, more criminal activity happening during that time. Please explain.
Okay. So let me just bow to that question because I know we're about to hit the difficult territory. Because if you talk to a policeman, police officer, ER doctors, they all dread the full moon. But if you go on Google, you have a million brilliant scientists now saying there's no effect from the full moon. Yet, when I looked at these studies, they're not thorough. They don't have the proper controls in their research. It's typically just a small area they're studying. That's a huge flaw. Huge flaw, especially if you were going to use Jyotish to only study in one hospital or one locality or one city. That would not work. So this question is a little bit of a loaded question. I am going to talk about these things at the retreat. I will be talking about, that Dr. Vedamji was saying, this whole thing with God's will be done, Dr. Vedamji. Okay, so, 3 wise men followed stars to find Jesus, who sounds like a Kriya yogi, who went to, if someone accepts that person might have existed, went to India and got this knowledge. It's not even debated that if they believe he existed, he went to Egypt and India. And he speaks an awful lot like a Kriya yogi, okay? 3 wise men from the east followed stars to find him. And that's not the only story like that in those traditions. So what you're saying about the full moon, it probably has relevance. In Jyotish Shastra and the Falita portion, the way they would explain it, the Purnima would not have that effect necessarily on everyone broadly. There are so many nuances. So if you're born on Krishna Paksh, Chaturthi, the 4th cycle of the moon, they're going to see it a little different. The Purnima may not affect in the same. There's all these little rules at the, like I said, it's a flood. It would take me probably, this is why Jyotish Shastra would take about 10 years at least. That is a minimum to fully learn. These programs with 1 year and you're a master. Hey, Togiji, you know how that is. They offer like masterhood of something that I think I'll be a student my entire life.
Yes.
That's how deep it is. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As-
So I know Dr. Togi, please. I know we're at almost 9:15. So let's Dr. Togi, please continue, and then maybe a final concluding remarks from everybody.
I would like to share an example, like my own story. In 2017, there was this eclipse, 2017, that eclipse happened in the US, the Great American Eclipse. So I had gone to see the eclipse. Coming back, that 6 hours journey, which it takes from that spot to my home, it took me 14 hours, of course. Why 14 hours? Because there were 12 accidents on that road. One can say many people are going out, so a lot of people, lot of traffic, proportionally the accidents will increase. Let's say if there are 10,000 people, one accident, now on that day 50,000 people, so 5 times accident. So that's one thing. But really 10 accidents, I don't know what to say. So statistics, that's what, I think we have entered into an era of big data. So I really want to have this. This is a whole project one could take. Take a statistics, million data points, give it to the system. AI is getting now all AI data and all, and see the probability of that. I'm sure it would not have been 12 times more population because that street would not have been. that much, we can't take that much traffic. But even though if it is half, maybe that a number of accidents which we see should have been doubled. But really, like two or three, maybe going to like four or five, but really 12 accidents. And then you know what happens, one accident, you have to wait for half an hour. So like that every time. And I decided from that day, if I'm going and visiting at some eclipse point, I'm not going to travel on that day. Take a room, take a hotel room, be there for that night and come next day. Because of so much traffic and people and accidents, I'm just saying one data point. I don't know what it is, but and the other time when I was traveling in an Amtrak, I was talking to this police officer, and he told me like nothing to do with that, but he told me, you know what? He just something about astronomy. He was telling what am I doing? I said I'm doing astronomy, and he just told me that number of accidents and all those things get high during full moon and new moon. Like he too pointed out that, and I didn't say anything. I said, oh, it's interesting data point. I just kept my mouth shut. Coming from a police officer,
Thank you.
so
Thank you. Well, this has been such a rich and incredible discussion. I appreciate you all being here. I would like to point out that the information, the link to the retreat is in the webinar chat box. So please click on that and please register. It promises to be an incredible weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I would like to just end with a comment from each of you, just a few words on however you would like to conclude or whatever you'd like to say. So just invite concluding remarks.
Sure. Let me start off. So I'd like to add to the anecdotes that I've been hearing from Eve and from Aditya. This is now something I've tried to have a scientific spin on that. My daughter, who works in Austin, has a boss from hell. And she would tell me every day she'd unload to me about outrageous things that he's said to her and all those kind of things. And we decided to correlate that with the phases of the moon because we suspected it's related. And believe it or not, as we go towards a full moon, if her complaints were maximum, the kind of things he would say to her, how he'd treat her and everything, and he'd be wonderfully nice to her as it goes towards the new moon. So I can say, yes, there is some correlation. This guy, we called him a werewolf, right? So towards new moon is where his behaviors come out. But anyway, but that's reality. This is reality. And luckily that boss has moved on. So she's got a better manager now. She loves her job. So, but I'd like to encourage everybody to come to the retreat. It's going to be fantastic. We had such a wonderful time last year, observation and discussions and over dinner, over walking outside. It's a lovely place, Pine Lake Retreat. It's something to get away from urban life and, just lay back in a place like that. It's a very nice place. And this year, with addition of Eve and Aditya, I think we're going to have a holistic image of what our ancestors experienced when they said Jyotisha. What did they mean? We're going to get a very, very holistic picture. So I strongly encourage everybody to attend.
Thank you. Thank you. Eve G or Dr. Toki, would you like to?
Dr. Vedamji, I just had to comment on that full moon because this is why the Rashis did puja. There's a Purnima. You stay in puja at this time. You don't. I'm kind of making a comedy of it, but it's true what Togiji said. Policemen, firemen, emergency room doctors, they all say it. But yet you'll get this clever person on Google that did this study and it has no effect. When even you can track a women's menstrual cycles, births of babies, all of it comes with the moon. I mean, it's incredible. So it's almost common sense. So I wonder often why we're being asked to ignore common sense. I wonder why we're being made to think that it's superstition to follow a natural, a huge, okay, how does it affect the ocean? I mean, just down to this, and we're mostly liquid. We're mostly liquid. Our brains are sitting in liquid, actually. Okay, so to your point, hormones, and
Great.
even doctors will tell you that a female cycle follows hormonally the moon. They'll have you even track some things. So it's odd we're being asked to ignore that.
I
Thank
will
you.
also point out that it was Just a short story, 1 minute story. When it was COVID, I was at my friend's place, Kapil Raj. I think Evji knows him. What we used to do is after food and day retiring, that last part of the day, we'll go and watch a horror movie. He's also interested in horror movie. I'm also interested in horror movie. Daily one horror movie. And the horror movie which we select will be exactly matching the themes of the nakshatra that moon is. To understand that, one has to know the nakshatra names, one has to know the powers of the nakshatra, and then you could see every time that has happened, 3, 4 cycles. He has written a book on that. Maybe I'll share it when I'm at the thing. How does the nakshatra energies affect us? Exactly, the theme of the nakshatra. Whatever we see the movie, a horror movie, something with a child, that child theme in what nakshatra, that will match with those themes. Every day, 27 days, the moon takes to go around, correct? So there are 27 nakshatras. So it has matched, and not one cycle, 2, 3 cycles we followed that. And anyway, I will stop my mouth for that. And now, and then I'm looking forward you all to be there so that we can have such discussions entire night, no problem.
Exactly.
At the start.
There's obviously a wealth of information and material to be discussing over the course of 3 days, 4 days. So I invite everyone to join. We do have one last question, if you don't mind answering it before we go. In terms of watching solar or lunar eclipses because it's deemed unlucky or inauspicious. So if we can just answer that, and who would like to answer that?
I can take that to start with.
Okay, great.
So this question came up in the last retreat too. And I would strongly advise you to go to my Facebook and search for the same question. You'll find a detailed post on that. So as a scientist, I was keen to find out, is there any truth to ill health effects thanks to eclipses? Because anecdotally, in India, we have a tradition that if you're pregnant, you stay indoors. When an eclipse is going on, you don't eat food or water. After the eclipse is over, you have a bath. Are these merely rituals or are they rooted in some kind of a health concern? This is what I wanted to address. And my research has shown that, yes, there is some truth to this. For example, when the sun is out in the daytime, we have a whole lot of cosmic rays that are hitting the outside upper atmosphere. And those form this ionosphere that we know about, the ionosphere that protects other cosmic rays from entering into the earth. That's why we are mostly protected. Everything is hunky-dory and other such things. When the earth turns away from the sun, if this is the sun and the earth turns away, this is night side now. At night time, this reverse happens. Ionosphere thins out because there's no sunlight hitting that part of the atmosphere, right? It's hitting the other side of the atmosphere now. So it does not happen. During an eclipse, when the sun is shadowed by the moon, especially the solar eclipse, when the sun is shadowed by the moon, we have the reverse effects happening. In other words, that part of the ionosphere actually thins out. And at that point, you can have cosmic rays entering into the earth thanks to the sun is a source of amazing rays, all the way from visible to X-rays to other things, all kinds of, it's a broadband radiation. So we have a lot of rays coming in over there, and these can have negative impact. With that, I wanted to search, is there any evidence for this? And lo and behold, there are scientific papers that discuss how much of radiation increase is there during solar eclipses and so on. I can pass out these papers. If you come to the retreat, I can show you these papers. So there is a connection between radiation effects when you're exposed to an eclipse. And our ancestors have observed that, and their solution was, don't eat food that has been exposed. Don't have pregnant women should not go outside. Have a bath after the eclipse so that if you have any cosmic rays or whatever particles might be on you, you wash it out of you. I don't know how they'd have realized something like this. They have clearly observed over many, many generations there are deleterious effects, and they have taken corrective action. So there is some truth to it. Now, people can question, is it strong enough to cause effects just because you saw one eclipse? Well, that's debatable. We can question about the strength of the radiation that you receive and other such things. But I was interested in knowing, where are these rituals or practices coming from? Are they rooted in health concerns? And the answer is affirmative. Yes, they are rooted in it.
Wonderful. What a great response and answer. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for joining and being with us this evening. And I want to thank these incredible panelists. Really, your expertise, your humility, your depth of knowledge has been just incredible. Thank you so much. I encourage everyone to sign up for the retreat, The Genius of Hindu Astronomy. And it is going to be November 11th through 14th at Pine Lake Retreat in Florida. And the link is in the chat, and you can also see it on the HUA landing page. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.